Fraying parachutes critically reflects from a choreographer-facilitator's perspective on costume agency and how it can engender notions of convivencia in artistic collaborative processes of contemporary circus performance making. Fraying Parachutes draws from my experiences on Femme de Feur's Circus Sessions 2019, a Toronto and Canadian Arts Council funded research project which brought together 14 female artists from 6 different countries: Mexico, Uruguay, Spain, Canada, USA, and myself, a Spanish-speaking Eurasian relocated in the northwest of England. Framed as a week-long circus laboratory, the project's remit was not product-based, but would nevertheless culminate in 2 sharings with a paying audience. This was a time-pressured project with Canadian costume and installation designer Sarah Torrey and a group of artists that I had never met before in person. A glue was needed. Much of that binding agent or cohesive energy of convivencia would come from working with purposely frayed parachutes, as well as embodied notions of positive receptivity and hospitality. These used, expired, damaged, and soon-to-be deconstructed parachutes served as visual reminders of flight, suspension, risk, and rescue, qualities that are arguably innately present in circus work. The parachute-stained surfaces also suggested a conflictive baggage of reimagined narratives, military maneuvers, and failed flight. We actioned the fraying, disentangling layers of cloth, easing knotted nylon cord, and unpicking seams. I was conscious of undoing the careful and meticulous life-saving labour of others. In the acts of cutting and ripping, I was unsure as to whether this ecological use of worn parachute materials for circus performance was upcycling or recycling. Circus costume, by nature, tends to be troublesome. In my experience, fittings are rarely carried out with the slippery stickiness of sweating bodies, which in many acrobatic and aerial techniques is also combined with a dusting of magnesium to avoid slippage. The trial and error elements of costume making become problematic when the physical risks at stake are already high, and there is little safe space for error. In the weeks leading up to the project, I established online dialogues with the artists where I introduced my desire to work with parachutes. I hoped to build on my experiences of workshopping with costumographer Sally Dean, whose somatic costume insights I was able to share with the artists in discussion. My intention was also to have designer and costume maker Sarah in the studio theatre space, giving visibility and sewing machine sonority to our interdisciplinary processes. The combination of logistics and union rulings regarding accessibility to the space dictated otherwise, and Sarah was allocated a dressing room. Now, as I hold a remnant of the shiny fine nylon parachute material in my hand, I realize how very little I knew about the materials we would be working with. Experimental or subversive costuming that knows circus well takes time. In her recent 2019 article, Debating Critical Costume, Rachel Hahn invites us to critique through considering the hug of costuming. Introduced at the launch of Critical Costume in 2013, Hahn proposes the hug of costuming as a way to account for costume's agency within a reciprocal relationship between body, material, and action. Importantly, Hahn reminds us that, open quotes, hugs are not innately positively charged, nor are they always welcome. A hug can be uncomfortable and exposing, as well as restorative and protecting, close quotes. If this be the case, then contemporary circus costume is a complex hug, one that also has to negotiate with risk and acts of empowerment that are attached to identity making and artistic expression. As female artists on the Circus Sessions project, we questioned, and continue to question, what other identities can be garnered from working with purposely frayed parachutes, seemingly resilient, yet at the same time fragile and precarious. In the processes of adopting, adapting, and integrating with the ever-shifting and unpredictable parachute materials, we were effectively able to contest what circus scholars Lavers et al. In 2020 term as the highly sexualized costumes of traditional circus relating to embodied performances of femininity. Discreetly intertwined cuts of parachute and nylon cord were embedded into some of the costumes. These traces of artistic glue and threads of withness generated layers of connectivity with self and others in relation to costume. In this image, we can see the contortionist Samantha Hallas and trapeze artist Mariana Fernandez in a huge shift of physicality away from their honed disciplines, heaving and straining in order to bring Jessie and her newly acquired toy grand piano, rescued from the sidewalk, center stage. The red voluminous parachute skirt had numerous owners during the process and the performances, each artist working with the peculiarity of their costume hugging. The urgency of the collective endeavor to resolve, create, and support with these materials had a mediating effect on some of the tensions that arose from cultural, artistic, rhythmical, and aesthetical differences that we had in our decision-making. These qualities combined with the time pressure, Sarah was generating costumes for 12 performers from 3 abandoned parachutes in 4 days, conditioned out living with or convivencia on this project. It is in these collective efforts of negotiation and achievement that, according to social cultural theorists Amanda Wise and Greg Noble, 2016, and Jill Roy, 2004, that distinguish convivencia from conviviality. Conviviality suggests a friendliness and jovial getting along with other, which is distinct to the complexities in the shared living of convivencia that may include friction and tension, energies which manifested positively in our creative processes. To close this flash talk, I share with you a window of artistic convivencia, an extract of parachute costume video that was projected across the back wall of the theatre as the audience entered. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who made this project possible.
In charge of us.